Hey guys, welcome back. Today's guest is Georgie Ricks, known online as the PCOS coach through her inspiring Instagram, It's a PCOS Party. She is a qualified nutritionist, personal trainer, and hormone health coach, passionate about helping women take control of their hormone health. After being diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome and navigating its challenges for over 15 years, Georgina has transformed her life, losing 35 kilograms, reversing her symptoms naturally, and reclaiming her health. Now she's on a mission to educate and empower women with PCOS and hormone imbalances to do the same, using real talk, evidence-based strategies, and a whole lot of support. And we are absolutely buzzing to get you on because this has been a topic that a lot of people have asked us about. So we need to speak to an expert, and here you are. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys so much. Honestly, that I'm sat here with the biggest grin on my face because every time it's such a lovely introduction, then it kind of makes me go, okay, you know what? I did that, I did the thing, and I actually have come quite far. And I guess I've turned that pain and all those years into the passion and the purpose of my life now, you right, of really like helping women because still it blows my mind that PCOS and endometriosis and all of these women health conditions don't seem to be getting any better. They seem to be getting worse. And it's pretty insane to me that, when I say help with bunny ears here, the support, the lack of, I'd say, 15, 20 years ago when I started my journey, it's still the same that we're getting now. And it just blows my mind that really has been no sort of development in the pharmaceutical GP world, the lack of awareness, nutrition, lifestyle, holistic approach. It's just not there. And it's not really the GP's fault, unfortunately. They have a million diseases and illnesses to look after, right? They just don't have the education there. But yeah, sorry, off on a tangent already. Here for a yap. Let's dive in.
No, we love it. We love it. I mean, we've already said we're just gonna, be able to talk so much about this topic and learn from you and all our listeners, like Faye said, have asked us like a few times about this topic. So could you give us a bit of a snippet background of like your journey and also an explanation into I guess PCOS and endometriosis, those kind of hormonal like issues. So if for anyone that's like listening and doesn't know what we're talking about now.
Sure. So specifically, I will touch on PCOS, but a lot of what I will say and the like advice and protocols goes for everything, right? Ladies, if you have a symptom, a symptom is basically a signal from your body showing something is wrong internally. Okay. We shouldn't ignore the signs from your body. You've got to listen to it. That's the number one thing that I would say, because I ignored it for years, and I know many of us do. Your body is your home, it's your machine, it's on your side. Please remember that. It wants you to thrive, it wants you to be alive, wants you to be energized, it wants you to reproduce. Your body isn't broken. It's just the world that we live in, unfortunately, now that it produces and creates a lot of these challenges, a lot of these problems. So background of me, little synopsis. I got diagnosed officially when I was 16. I lost my periods for 2 years. I started very young. I was always the bigger friend, even though I played competitive sports. I come from an incredibly sporty family, healthy, again, but I went kind of down this 10-year roller coaster journey of having all of the symptoms, and the typical ones for PCOS is where you get irregular cycles or not no periods at all, and that then leads to other symptoms such as drastic weight gain, acne, hair growth, hair loss. It can also then, obviously, the mental side of things as well, of course, sort of low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, low confidence, PMS, really high sugar cravings. There's a huge sort of big branch of it. But inevitably it comes down to the sort of losing your cycles and not actually ovulating. So I went on this sort of 10-year journey where, of course, you go to the doctors like we are conditioned to do. The normal thing that they do is they'll throw you on birth control, which does not heal PCOS. It does not help our hormones in the long term. Okay. Yes, it's your body. At the end of the day, you can do what you want to do. If you're using it for, contraceptive reasons, then that's up to you. Fun fact, you can only actually get pregnant maximum 3 days of your entire cycle if you are regular. So I just say, learn your cycles, understand your body, and then track your cycles, so then you don't have to go on medication, because then actually that leads to a lot of other problems down the line. But yeah, I was on birth control for 10 years plus, which basically puts plaster on the wound. Still, you get other issues while you're on this, and then as soon as I sort of came off it, everything kind of came back with a vengeance. And then basically just decided to go F you to the doctors. I can't be bothered to listen to any more of them telling me that there is no cure, you can't do anything about this, X, Y, and Z. And I kind of took it into my own hands, and became obsessed with the female body and understanding it. I did biochemistry and nutrition at uni. And then just over the years, went to Bali for a little bit, did the classic there. But to be fair, that really healed me. I spent a year of just like, left a stressful job, deep dived into me and my health, and figured out what the hell was going on. And I managed to reverse the condition naturally, lose a lot of weight, get everything under control. And I basically have now no symptoms left, no signs of PCOS left in my body. So from the back of that, I then created the PCOS party, and made it basically my life mission, because I'm just so bloody passionate of women, of helping. I feel like I'm one of those born helpers on the planet. And I forever just, I started with an Instagram, have winged it. Entrepreneurship, guys, is not for the faint-hearted. But I'll tell you now, most people don't really have a strategy. They're just kind of like, just start something and off you go, and then see where you end up. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
It's an incredible story, and kudos to you for taking it into your own hands, because I feel like a lot of times people say, oh, there's nothing they can do, and they're helpless. So I guess you get to a point, and for you to like, turn it around, understand more, and then put it into practice. And I guess it puts you in like the perfect position now to help other people, because you can relate to how people feel through the stages, every single stage. Could you just maybe touch on exactly what PCOS is, and
Yeah.
how you would get diagnosed? Like, I know you're saying you had symptoms and now you don't have symptoms. Like, how do you
Yeah.
find that out?
Technically, so polycystic ovarian syndrome is what it stands for. It is the leading cause of infertility now, and it affects sort of 1 in 8 women officially, but we actually think it's 1 in 5. Again, it's just the lack of education sort of globally out there. And really, they don't actually know where it comes from, right? You're not born with it. It's kind of down to environmental factors, high stress, trauma from a child. That's a lot that I'm actually learning about now that can really sort of bring it on. There's 4 technically different types, but it can be from post pill as well, where you can sort of develop PCOS. But a lot of it as well is down to insulin resistance. So 80% of women with PCOS has insulin resistance, which again it is a lot of down to your diet, where we're living in a world now with sort of processed foods, refined sugars, refined carbohydrates, and where we are sort of eating a lot more than we ever used to, right? We used to eat a lot more sort of the whole foods, of, from the land, from the animal, from the sea, whereas now we're not quite as much. And unfortunately, a lot of the processed foods, and then we've got toxins and stresses and everything else, it's just creating this sort of inflammatory environment, which actually PCOS is an inflammatory condition. It's a metabolic disorder. So actually with that, we really need to take a holistic approach with it. Throwing pills at it is not going to do anything. Typically, how you would get diagnosed if you went to your GP, you would need 2 out of the following 3. So the first thing would be an ultrasound, where they would go up your vagina and they scan your ovaries. And then what you would see is they look like sort of black pearls, and they coat your ovaries. Now, this again is where it's complete misleading information. PCOS actually has been given the wrong name. So women think that because it's got cystic in the name, it means that those little black dots are cysts. Now, they are not cysts, okay? I've got to make that very clear. A cyst can be very, very dangerous, because that can be an ovarian cyst that can then grow and then rupture. I'm sure you've probably heard of those stories. That can be really dangerous for a female. The black pearls are actually immature follicles where we are not ovulating. So the ovary is not releasing the egg. Okay, so then what happens is it kind of leaves this coating with how much you are irregular and you're not ovulating, and whatnot's going on. But that's just a visual representation. They're actually harmless. Okay, they don't actually really contribute to the symptoms or anything of PCOS itself. Then the next one is where they'll do a blood test, and a typical sign of PCOS is where you have high androgens, which is your high male sex hormones, which is your testosterone. So that when we have higher testosterone as females, one positive I'd like to start with is a lot of women, because it's always negative for PCOS. The positive side with high testosterone is women with PCOS can actually build muscle a lot quicker. We actually can become a lot stronger. So, it's not all negative. I like to be positive polys over here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but unfortunately, that can then lead to the acnes. A lot of women will get sort of hair growth on their chin, on the moustache, on their back, on their stomach, which obviously, as females, that's not a nice thing to deal with. Hair growth as well is a part of it. And then the third diagnosis is having no periods or irregular periods. But they technically say you need two of the three. But again, it gets complicated because even if you have regular cycles, you can still have polycystic ovaries, and you can still have the syndrome and the symptoms. So it is a bit complex, but I do also feel that the medical world has made it more complicated than it needs to be, right? It just like you just have to listen to your symptoms and signs. If you are struggling with anything that I have mentioned there, okay, really low energy, like super low fatigue, like a lot of women really struggle to get out of bed in the morning. Obviously the weight one is a big one. Like I still to this day have to work very hard to keep in some way, shape or form. And that is because we do have much lower metabolisms, unfortunately. We do have insulin resistance, which can then obviously, of course, lead to more fat storage around sort of the midsection in your hips. And of course, it's going to increase the cravings, which unfortunately can then lead to us, eating a bit more, lower energy. There's a lot of parts to play in it with PCOS. So if anyone that just like sort of, doesn't, I feel like women with PCOS get it's hard done by a lot, where people just kind of think, oh, because you're not eating, you just need to eat less, you need to move more. And actually, it's just not that simple sometimes. And then you've got to throw in sort of cortisol and the thyroid, which they all kind of work together. But PCOS, again, because it is a bit of a trauma response condition as well. We are much more stress sensitive. We are sort of more stress babies. So when again we're living in this world where as females, we're doing so much more. We're trying to be these powerhouse ladies where we're doing high roxes, but we're having, a crazy family at home, and we're running businesses, and we've got in a toxic relationship, and we're trying to go out 5 times a week. There's so much stresses in our life that we've never been used to, but our bodies haven't been able to adapt. And there's only one stress response, which is cortisol. So it cannot tell the difference, right? So over time, this long-term sort of stress abuse, I'd say, or when we're stuck in fight or flight, our nervous system is whacked. And when our body feels stress, it basically deems that we are unsafe. So not only, it's unsafe and unhealthy. So not only the first thing it's going to do is stop you ovulating, okay, because it means you're not safe enough to have a baby, but it's also going to really stop that fat from getting off your body. It's going to hold on to that fat stores because it might think you're running out of rations, or you might need it for extra energy. Sorry, a lot of information. This
No.
is just me like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
No.
So good.
It's great. Like it is. It's what we want. Like we just want to learn and take in all the information. I was gonna ask about like symptoms around your cycle. So, like, would anything kind of, I don't know, you'd have worse stomach cramps, or you would feel like a certain way if you were still having a cycle, or is it just everyone's different?
So everyone is different. It really is. It's not a one size fits all. So I have one-to-one coaching. I work very specifically with my clients. And you're right what you said earlier, right? Like I think the reason why I am able to help so many and I do get incredible results is because I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. I'm literally the solution of the problem, right? It's like, would you go to a business coach who doesn't own a business? I say this a lot, you wouldn't. But yes, so endometriosis predominantly is the one that is very heavy, painful periods, okay? PCOS, you can get the PMS. Yes, we can get it's more the cravings. It's more the sort of feeling out of control with with yourself and with your hormones, which then might lead to binge eating. A lot of women suffer with sort of that binge restricting, secret eating sort of situation. You do get more PMS if your hormones are really sort of chaotic and out of balance. But it's not, PCOS isn't predominantly around like pain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually having cycles, you're not getting, it's more the fact that you're not getting any cycles. They're irregular, or they're really long, or we're not ovulating. So the aim of the game is to basically get them regular and get ovulating, because ovulation is basically the optimum female health. That is the aim of the game, girls. You want to be ovulating. That shows your body is healthy, happy, and safe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
that
That
is-
explains it.
Yeah, such a good point. And bring it down to simple terms, isn't it? Because everyone always talks about, oh, you need a period, you need a regular period, or like you might have a longer like your month might be longer. Some people might be 20, yeah, your cycle might be 23 days, some might be 28, and there's all this stuff. But actually, when it just comes down to the nuts and bolts of it, you just need to make sure you ovulate every month, and then you know everything in your body is kind of moving and working quite well.
Yeah, but then again, the optimal cycle really is 28 to 35 days. That's what we want to be aiming for. Ovulation is in the middle of that, so it's going to be around day 14, 15, 16. Again, everyone's a bit different, but there is normally just one day. We give it either sides, again, just, again, for more protection purposes. But once we start going out of that bracket, that's when actually we probably aren't ovulating, right? So typically I get women with PCOS who have come to me who are like, I'm either not having any cycles, or they get like 3 a year, So that's when I really have to deep dive into them specifically. Obviously, it's a huge part of nutrition in their diet. It is stress, right? It is movement. It's obviously looking at things like post pill. I get a lot of women coming to me who now want to get off birth control. So I have programs to obviously support women for that, because the main aim for that, like I was on birth control for 10 years. It took me about 2 years to get a natural bleed back. But with everything that I now know, again, it's not one size fits all, but I can help women get their periods back a lot quicker when they sort of dial into their nutrition. There's lots of tips and hacks and ways that, I've worked it out, and once you understand sort of how you can fuel your hormones correctly, your periods can come back a lot quicker, and not with the savage symptoms that you had before. Because a lot of women will go on the birth control because they've got bad skin, because they have had painful periods, whether it's for endo or PCOS, and then they're very scared to come off it, right? That's the typical thing that I see. But I'm telling you now, ladies, if you actually just tweak your nutrition a little bit and give your hormones what they actually want and how they fuel, like, you got to remember what we feed them, they are fueling off. Like, your symptoms will not come back. I'm telling you now. And I mean, if you go on my Insta and actually have a look at like all my little highlight reels, granted I'm not updated in a while because I'm sorry, slacking on Instagram at the moment. We have those moments where we're just like struggling to show up.
Instagram now, yeah.
That. But I have my highlight reels, and it's like the client love, and there's one on testimonials, and there are thousands of screenshots in there of all my clients. Basically, they always WhatsApp how we speak. Loads of them are like, what the hell? I've got my period back, and like none of my symptoms have come back, and like this, like, I don't think a lot of them realize actually quite how simple it is, and I make your life very easy and make you understand. I think that's the main thing as well. Once you understand, and it's the why, right? Rather than me going, okay, I want you to go and eat eggs every single day, but not give you the context or the reason why you got to do it, what's in the nutrition, how it's going to work with your hormones, you're not really going to do it. Does that make sense? Like, we've got to understand the reason. So, I really, really help my girls, and there is a method to my madness of actually educating the step-by-step process of, and it is tailored towards them as well, because it really depends on their lifestyle, what they've been through, how much stress they've got going on in their life, if they're on the go, there's so much to play in it, because it's not just doing chicken and broccoli out of a Tupperware is not sustainable, and it's definitely not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And then where does like exercise fit into all of this? Is it because obviously exercise is such a positive thing for everyone, but then it's also a stressor, so it can have a negative effect. And then you also have the, I guess, different types of personalities, and people use exercise for mental health as well. but then could potentially use it a little bit too much. So
100%.
how does that slot into to all of this?
Yes. And do you know what? Like, this is again something that I personally went through. In terms of exercise, like exercise has been the biggest part of my life since, I was 2 years old. But I went down that route when I first moved to Dubai 10 years ago when I landed, and it was like, bikinis everywhere, and like, you feel the pressure, don't you, to like look your best the whole time. And at that point, I didn't really know, I wasn't a PT then. I didn't know much about sort of why strength training is so good. All I was doing was your classics, waking up at 6 a.m., smashing the spin bike or a hit, fasted or on a coffee, also working in a very stressful environment in the gym, also in a very toxic relationship. All of that, sent me basically into fight or flight. So breaking it down when it comes to exercise, yes, we need it in every way, shape, or form. It's incredibly important that we have it. The most important thing for PCOS and hormones is putting muscle on our body, okay? It is strength training. When we have more muscle on our body, it's going to help so much with that insulin and with the insulin resistance that a lot of women have, right? It's just going to allow us to use the carbohydrates and glucose and use the energy in the fuel. Okay, and consistently sort of burn the energy every single day. Obviously, for longevity, for strength, for all the other reasons, but I'm just trying to talk specifically like hormones at the moment. So strength is number one, right? Cardio is fine. It's just you have to really take it. It is a case by case basis. Okay, so like client A is someone that is an incredibly stressed, anxious person. Okay, they really struggle sleeping. They have got a very high lawyer, job. Their phone is consistently popping off. They're always slightly on edge. The last thing we want to be doing for them is getting them up and going on a spin bike or doing sort of some hits or going on a long run. Okay, that is still good. It's still a stress response. It's going to raise your cortisol. That is then going to lead to probably your period stopping, your hair falling out. You're definitely not ovulating, and you're probably going to really struggle to conceive. Right? That's when we've got to lower it down. And I've been through that. I literally had to stop all cardio for about 6 months. I was also going through a very toxic breakup, and it's not, this is what I mean, it's not just one size fits all, because and of course you have the high rocks, incredible athletes and females who do have their periods and everything's going great, but they probably have no other stress going on in their life, to be honest, and they're fueling correctly, right? And they know what they're eating. And that's another side of it, is the fuel is so important. Like, I did my first high rocks. Never again. Not gonna lie, girls, I'm not a runner. Get me on a road, get me on a ski. I still love nothing more than an absolute blitz it, kill me, session for the mental health side of things. And I'm easing back into it now because my body is in a much calmer state. But where am I going here with the high rocks? I was able to do it because of all the knowledge I now know, and because I fueled myself correctly, right? So ladies out there, females, please, the biggest thing I ask, do not wake up and do any exercise fasted. I know a lot of people don't want to stomach first thing in the morning eggs or whatever, right? But invest in like a good vegan protein powder. Vegan, by the way, for the females, we avoid the whey. Whey is a gut and hormone disruptor. It spikes your insulin, and it can contribute to inflammation as well. Vegan's always going to be your best bet for women. Okay. So having like, what I'll do sometimes in the morning is I'll have like a decaf coffee, because again, I don't want caffeine. We don't need it. I'm already energized enough, to be honest. And then I'll put in a scoop of vegan vanilla protein, bit of almond milk or coconut milk, ice or hot, whatever you want, put that in. I sometimes keep in the fridge some cut chicken breast, some slices of ham, hard-boiled egg if you can stomach that. Just getting something in is really going to help not only start to lower your cortisol, by the way, but it is going to give you fuel to bloody train. So you're actually going to be able to lift and have more energy anyway. And it's going to just not spike that insulin first thing as well. Because after you, especially if you do them fasting, then let's say you go and eat a croissant or a coffee, that spike is going to be really quite high, and it's going to send you on sort of a blood sugar roller coaster. And that again is then going to contribute to sort of your hormone imbalances over time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that you brought that up, and I think it's a hot topic right now, actually, in High Rocks, even with the elite girls. So there's some of the top girls in the elite 15 that maybe over the last couple of years, when High Rocks has just been coming in, that have been totally under fueling, and a lot of them have ended up with like red S and like low energy and not being able to perform. So there's this big
Yeah,
like definitely push from some of the elite girls now as well to encourage women to eat more food, to eat round training, to fuel their
definitely.
training. And yeah, it's great to hear it backed up by people like yourself who have the knowledge, the information, and yeah, can
Yeah.
basically yeah empower
I mean,
women
look,
Explain
to
it.
I always say, like,
yeah
we are not small men, and I
yeah
cannot stress that enough. Like, ladies, if you've got a male PT and they're making you do the same workouts throughout your entire cycle, and like forcing you, like, if you're in your luteal before your period, to basically lift the same as ovulation, sack them immediately, right? I've always said this, like, go for a female PT first of all because they get it. But like, we are not small men. We have fluctuations throughout our month the entire time that we need to train around that we can tap in a second, but we have to fuel. Like, it's so important. And part of me is like absolutely inspired, and I freaking love all these females. I am one of them who wants to be strong and sexy and smash all of these like competitions, and it's so empowering and amazing. But then I also, there's this other side that I am witnessing, and I was one of them, and I'm getting more DMs, and more women, as you said, are actually speaking out about it. Well, we're hitting burnout.
mm,
We are like losing ourselves because we can't do it every day. We can't. We're not machines. Men literally have testosterone that stays the same the entire month through, right?
mm,
We do not. We have cycles, we have a flow, we have a femininity that we need to like understand. Rest days are so important. Recovery is so important. Again, I learned it the hard way. I hit burnout really, really badly. And now, unfortunately, because of that, because I didn't listen for so long, I am now incredibly sensitive to it, right? I now know, like, even like just I've been in Bali for a couple of weeks. There's me being like, whoop, back in Dubai. Like, so I like, this is my place where I like freaking thrive. And I go back to my favorite gym straight into high rocks class. My body's like, no, 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 hun. Nah, and I'm much kinder to myself now. I very much accept it. I will not but not push myself like in any way, shape, or form. If and I'm running businesses here, I also have a very sensitive nervous system. But because I have listened to myself so much, I've done the work, I've educated myself to really get in tune with my body. I now And I've also just let go a bit of the pride and the ego, right? I really have done that. I'm very okay now in a class, just be like, do you know what? I'm going to hop on the bike and do zone two. I'm not doing sprints up and down the hill because that's going to send me crazy. And then,
mm,
then it
yeah
affects so much more of my life. Like, please, girls, like, if you are feeling like that, if you're nervous, your nervous system is like a huge part of the healing thing, right? If your nervous system isn't regulated, nothing else is going to be regulated, and you're not going to heal. Your hormones are going to be all over the bloody shop. Like, sleep, recovery, rest, walking, the most important things. Otherwise, you just can't perform. You can't perform.
mm.
Yeah, no, and I
Well,
think, oh no,
go
go
on
on.
then. No, go on.
No, I was gonna say I think it's really important to speak about it and to like raise awareness of it, because it is such a long like building thing. So you might get away with it for so long, like treating your body like crap essentially and not looking after it, but then it is going to catch up with you. You're going to hit burnout, or you're going to decide, oh, I want to start a family, and then all of a sudden like you're not able to conceive and you're having issues, and it's such a long, slow process that you maybe can't see for a while. But if we don't talk about it, and if we don't bring it up to like the younger generation, like they need to know about it so that they can fix it before it happens, if that makes sense.
100%. Like, and it's just, yeah, I think, there's one side at the moment where people are speaking up, and I really think, people are recognizing, like birth control, they don't want to be on it. It's not good for the body. I've noticed a lot more of that in terms of my inquiries and DMs. Then there's also, I feel, this other side, which is, the Ozempic dangerous side as well, that I just feel we're always going to have this like clash in these trends, and it's like the pharma world against the holistic world. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to win, and unfortunately, that's sometimes where I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, and it can be very tough you know, to just consistently keep going with my message and what I'm trying to give when it's like, does that make sense? I'll never
Yeah.
stop, but it is hard. And it's also just like, you're right, like this, it is such a long, it can be such a long journey if there are people out there who are going for these quick fixes. And not just saying Ozempic is a quick fix, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, like, if you do quick fixes like I used to do, like diet pills or like birth control or like stupid fad diets and all of this, right, where you starve yourself for a week and they lead to binge eating, like, it's not sustainable. It's actually going to cause you so much more harm than good. Like, you need to really have, you know, the education around like how you can build these. It's more the lifestyle and it's the daily habits where you can then have them in place, and then it becomes part of your routine, right? And that over time is when then suddenly your body starts working together, your hormones start rebalancing, they start talking together, and they're like, oh, okay. And then week on week, and I see my clients and they're like, it's like almost like they don't even realize. I'm like, how was your sleep this week? And they're like, oh, actually, I didn't wake up 4 times. And actually, I slept really well. Or like, you know, suddenly their hair's much thicker. Like, my hair's an absolute mane now. It's ridiculous. Whereas like it used to, you know, just come out in clumps and just be awful. And it was, but that, you know, it's once you really start seeing it as a bit of a longer journey and not these like quick fixes here and whatever, unfortunately, they don't exist. Trust me, I tried to find one for 10 years. It's actually the fundamentals and the basics. And when you do those basics on repeat, that's when you're going to win.
The consistency of just building daily habits. And so if there's somebody now, maybe they're pretty stressed, maybe they've got a family, kids, they're working a job, they're trying to compete in high rocks, running, I don't know, they go to the gym and they like to do events every now and again, or they just like to go to the gym and do maybe their spin class a couple of times a week and run at the weekend. But maybe they're thinking, oh, this could be me. Maybe I need a shift in my daily lifestyle, my daily routine. Is there like 3 easy things that you could get somebody to focus on at the beginning that would be the habits that you like, maybe try these for the next couple of months and just see if this can help?
Yeah, 100%. So the first thing I would say is stop slow mornings. So stop any, if you are one of these people that like to get up and train, I do, but try and swap it. So in the mornings, go for more like walk, Pilates. You can do some strength training as long as it is just strength, right? We go slow, controlled. Make sure it's fueled. The number one thing. Any of you that are fasting, any of you that are starting on a black coffee, please limit that, and generally limit caffeine as well. Okay. Caffeine does spike your cortisol. So if you are trying to have 4 or 5 cups a day, you know, it's really not going to be helping that. The next thing is prioritizing protein in every meal. Okay. Protein is the number one macro. We should be hitting minimum a gram for every kg that you weigh. Minimum, you want like 1.2 really above that. So building every meal around the protein source and trying to change your brain into that. So like everywhere I go now, wherever restaurant, wherever it is, I'm an on the go person. I love to eat out. You know, we're here to live a good, fun life. But how I pick my meals will be like, right, steak, and then you build around it, or chicken, build around it, nice salmon fillet, right? Try and limit the heavier, pure like carb meals, like a big bowl of pasta. Cool, have some pasta, but why don't we throw in a load of chicken in that and maybe halve it with your friend and have some veggies on the side? You know, bit more balancing. Have that pizza, sure, but again, have half and have a salad with your friend. Like, it's just making your meals a bit more balanced, adding a bit more fiber, healthy fats, and the protein source, and more of low GI carbohydrates. So insulin, I really want to touch on this. In terms of the hormones, they are like a little family, okay? Insulin is like your big mama. She is the queen of the freaking jungle, and she basically speaks to all of the others. So when she's unhappy, she'll send a signal to testosterone, which bumps him up to cortisol as well, and can mess with the thyroid. So insulin, what is happening in this world, and it's not just for PCOS, by the way, insulin resistance is the first stage before you get to pre-diabetes and diabetes type 2, okay? So I'm sure people can relate. I'll just paint a little story. Let's say you're someone that in the morning you wake up, you're knackered, you go to Starbucks drive-through or Starbucks whatever, and you're getting your venti cappuccino and a croissant to go, right? Straight into a fasted stomach. Sorry, let me finish the story. Then you go to the office, you're a bit tired, you're reaching for the cookies at 11, then you're going to have a pasta salad or a couscous salad, quinoa. Quinoa's a good grain, but still, bear with me. It's just quite carby heavy, so I'm going with it, right? 4 p.m, you have that lull again. You go for an apple because you think it's healthy, but still it's just carbs on its own, or another cookie or something. And then you get home and you're tired, you just want to order something. So you might order, I don't know, chicken and chips or a wrap or maybe some pizza, but you also try and be healthy, right? But you are, it's healthy, but it's not. Or you're going for like a lower calorie thing, but it's still pizza. What I'm trying to say is when you do this more than not, okay, over time, what happens is your body basically starts being resistant to insulin. So you're the glucose from your carbs when you ingest carbohydrates turn to glucose. Insulin's like the lock and key. Insulin basically pulls in the glucose into your muscles for you to thrive and you to run around and do your higher oxygen and do everything. But if you are consistently having sort of more processed carbohydrates and sugars all day every day, your body starts rejecting this, right? It doesn't, the mechanism doesn't work. So what happens then is all this insulin is sort of, and the glucose is left in your body, your cravings go up, inflammation goes up, fat storage goes up, and it's just this, and obviously the elevated insulin levels rise as well. So then, because your muscles aren't using the energy because it can't get it in there, you're then even more fatigued. So then you're reaching even more for carbs. The cravings are absolutely insane. Do you see this? Like, it's this complete vicious cycle that is then incredibly hard to break. And then because of this buildup of insulin, this is going to lead to, hopefully not, but diabetes type 2, which is a whole nother global pandemic that we are in. So when we have elevated levels of insulin, that then is also going to signal to your ovaries, which is also a contributor as to why you then aren't ovulating, and then you might be struggling to conceive and you're not having periods. It's,
No, it
it's
makes
a lot.
sense.
But
It's
insulin, what I'm trying to say with that, sorry, is the ups and downs of all the carbs, right? And when you're having it, it's going to lead you on this blood sugar roller coaster. You're going to have these peaks and troughs throughout the day, the highs and lulls, the sudden, buzz of the energy, and then the crashes, which so many people experience throughout the day. So all to do that, the main aim really is to really try and regulate insulin where we can. And that is going to be by adding protein in every single meal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
just try and never like isolate your carbs. That's why I always say, always dress them, or low GI where we can, because low GI means that it's much slower releasing rather than this quick burst.
Yeah.
Okay. And then third thing I would say is, I know it's difficult for everyone, but really, really, really try to prioritize sleep. Do all the cliche things that they tell you to do. I know we're all obsessed with these bloody phones. I am awful, but try your best, get the blue light on it, put do not disturb, read 5 pages, try and just wind down, and make sure that you take some time for you. Me time is really important. Do that breath work, listen to that meditation music. It's all going to be helping that nervous system to really calm and regulate wherever, where you can, and just to bring that stress down, because cortisol, stress, is the silent killer. I believe that massively. And I believe that is why so many females are struggling with conceiving, is this long-term over stress response. It's not these short bursts, it's where we have been stuck in fight or flight for so long that our bodies are just shutting down slowly, right? They're really just feeling so unsafe that this is why we can't have babies, and this is why we're holding on to excess fat, and this is why we're all feeling like bloody shit.
Yeah, I think it's like such a good point as well, because I think you're not meant to feel shit. Like, your body is actually meant to feel good. You're meant to feel energized and happy and healthy, and like you're meant to like thrive. Whereas I think, I don't know, and social media probably does like play a huge part in everyone thinking they're not doing enough, or they need to train more, or they need to own a business, or they need to be like go 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 go, and then someone feels like guilty for almost stopping and like looking after themselves and taking that extra rest day, or like you say, jumping on the bike and doing a bit of zone 2 instead of the sprints, because it looks like failing, I
feel like
guess,
you're
in a way.
failing.
Yeah.
And it is, it's like, it is, there's such a fine line now, I think, with, being these competitive, fierce females that we all are. And I freaking love it. I'm here for it. Of course I am. But like, we can't be scared to say no. We can't be scared to, take that rest day, because actually, if you don't, as I said, you will really suffer, with the burnout, and that's a place you don't want to get. I'm telling you now, because that's even harder to come back from, like really hard when you hit that full adrenal exhaustion. So yeah, like prioritizing the rest, protein, focus on whole foods, also get the healthy fats in your diet, because the fats, never ever fear fats, by the way, guys. Fats are the fuel for our hormones. And that's another thing that I see. And there was a huge spike if you look at like data back. Do you remember when it was like the marketings where they're like, fats make you fat free everything, right? If you look there, that is actually when infertility and all the issues started to increase. And that's a huge part to play. So fats are incredibly important. And this is also why, by the way, we have 3 macros. Don't cut any of them out. For God's sake, we need them. They are all so important in so many ways. Like cutting one out is just going to lead to issues, right? So whole foods, protein, rest and recovery, slower mornings, strength training, and don't be afraid in classes where, we do like to go a bit nuts and we like the high roxes. If your body is telling you, I'm tired today, please just slow down, even stop, go home, call it quits.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important like point to note as well, with like for most people now the high rock season is kicking off, and you could race every weekend if you wanted to, and you do see like a lot of people racing all the time, and a lot of guys can race back to back weekend after weekend and stuff. But like you're saying, maybe as females picking out a few races a year and actually like building up to them with having a bit of a deload week and having a rest day every week, you might actually sustain your season a bit better and get better results, because you're actually taking into consideration how your body works and giving it the chance to de-stress in between races.
Exactly that. It is tough, I always try and preach the balance as much as I can, but equally, I'll be honest, I always struggle to find the balance, ADHD nutcase as well, which also doesn't help, throw that into the mix. But you've just got to do your best. And I will keep saying it again and again. Once you actually work with your body and understand the signs and the signals that it sends to you, it's so empowering. Once you work with your cycles, you understand, okay, I'm on day 14, that's why I've just hit a PB sick, because my estrogen's high and I'm buzzing. But I'm 3 days off my period, no wonder I'm so tired. Okay, I'm just going to go on a walk today and have a massage. It's really empowering once you start to work with your body, and you can be so much kinder to yourself. For years I was like, oh, because I am a competitive nutcase. I've come from a very male dominated family, 3 brothers, rugby obsessed, thrown on the pitch when I was 2, that sort of vibe. So for me, I've had to do a lot of work on like, if I'm not performing, it doesn't, for so long I thought unless I was performing, I'm failing. It's a sign of weakness. It's a lot of like, I for years never cried because I thought it was a sign of weakness. Now I know that's a lot of issues of why that has probably contributed to PCOS, and trauma is a huge part of it. Like, we are females, we're not men, and we have emotions and they need to be shown, and we need to just be more bloody feminine sometimes. We can't just be like all the time.
No, totally. And then quickly, before I ask the final question to round off, for someone who maybe hasn't kind of considered their cycle at all when they're training, would you say the first steps would just be to track and make a note of how they're feeling, or if they wanted to kind of get in tune with their body a little bit more and they're literally just following an off-the-shelf plan that they got from, I don't know, ChatGPT, like what would you say?
So I actually do have, if they want, it's PCOS Party on Instagram, they can DM me. I have a free download specifically for how to train around your cycles. So there you go.
Perfect.
What I would say is, yes, start tracking your cycles for sure. You can use the Flow app. You can use even on your Apple phone. They literally just have in the heart, that where the steps are.
Yeah.
The most important part is to really understand the 4 phases. Very simply, I'll break it down, but there's more to this. But I kind of do them in, like, think of them as seasons. So there's 4 phases. Your menstruation, which is obviously your bleed, think of that as winter. Then you go into follicular, which is spring. Spring is where it's like after your bleed, basically up to ovulation, which is spring and summer. This is where you should be feeling your best. I'm in it right now. This is my favorite week. Unfortunately, it's classic for females. It's only bloody 1 week. How selfish, whoever made us. Thank you very much. But grab it by the balls, guys. You should be feeling flirty, fun, sociable, lifting PBs, wanting to smash more workouts. Okay, use it, grab it. Then once we have ovulated, okay, our estrogen drops dramatically, progesterone comes up. This is our luteal phase. Think of this as autumn. This is our longest phase, unfortunately. Everyone is different. Some people suddenly feel knackered in week 3. Some people can train on their period. Some people, it's really down to you. But just listen to the body. More Pilates, more gentle movement, yogas, walking. You know, for strength honeys out there, we can still do it. Just go lower on the weight, more reps, just it's very simple swap there. That's a very small breakdown of how we can adapt a bit.
Perfect. No, that's amazing. And then once I've asked this question, we'll say where everyone can follow you, find you, get all the information. But first, what message or advice would you give to your younger self or the next generation of girls growing up? I mean, I feel like you've just given a whole podcast of lessons and advice, but I'm still going to ask it anyway.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm such a yapper. It's an ADHD thing as well. I just go off on such a tangent. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we're here for the value. Okay, I would say you don't need to be perfect all the bloody time. You don't need to be everything for everyone. I also want to say you don't need to shrink to be loved. For so long, my identity has been on my body and my size, and that kind of transpired my whole life, I think, into like my worth. And that's, you're the least interesting thing about you is your body. We want to be strong and sexy and powerful. But yeah, focus on being the woman that you need, not the one that the world expects.
Yeah, so amazing. Yeah, such a good answer.
I mean, I know you said you chatted up, but everything you said just had so much behind it, so much information, so much that I think people can take away from it. And I think obviously you've got so much more to give, and you've got an incredible Instagram page that I've been going through for probably the last week, like nearly every day, just like getting into everything.
Oh, stop, I'm gonna cry.
No,
I've really been
I
struggling with Instagram.
Yeah, but you give the information over in a really nice way, like a very easy way to learn and absorb the information, where sometimes I guess when you talk to medical professionals or things like that, it's quite hard to understand. So I think your information is very relatable, and hopefully it's obviously helping a lot of women out there, and hopefully we can help more by spreading the word, and people might want to come over now and find out where you are and what you offer and if you can help them. So can we find out a bit more about where people can go to you, what you offer, and how they could reach out?
Of course. So yes, PCOS is my niche, but please remember, ladies, we all have hormones. So if anything that I've said to you today has related, like I basically build one-to-one coaching programs specifically for women. I also have my own app, which I created that is again specific. It's not a one size fits all. You can basically, it's low ticket as such, but we build you a personalized nutrition and fitness plan. It's packed with recipes, all these coaching videos. Like when I say it's jam-packed, it's jam-packed. I think it's like $40 a month, no subscription, one of those. Like, God, I don't even know my own business. It's hilarious. You can tell I'm not really here for the money. I'm just here for like the help. But yeah, I also help women, who want to come off birth control, all sort of ages, especially also really my biggest one as well is helping women conceive naturally. I've had some incredible miracle stories. My oldest client was 47. She'd done IVF 3 rounds, didn't work, comes to me, 6 months, we got her pregnant. Yeah, that was my best miracle story. But there's I think there is still what's the word? I think a lot of people, just because the world we live in. You know, they think they need to go to the gynae and they need to go and spend all this money on IVF and everything. And it's like, the one thing I want to leave you guys is like, your body isn't broken. I'm telling you now, like, you don't need to be spending this much money if you just give a little bit of love back to yourself and a bit of time and a bit of investment in someone who knows what they're bloody talking about. And I know that the coaching space, sometimes people don't believe in coaches, right? They're like, because there are, I'm going to say, a lot of freaking shit coaches out there who have kind of undercut us and think that they've got a nutrition, like, what's it called, certificate for a 5-minute course online. They can then come, you know, and it sends me under. So that's something that I've been struggling with. But weirdly, doing these podcasts always bring me back to life, because I'm actually like, no, do you know what? I know what I'm both talking about. And there's always space in the party for anyone out there who wants to work with me. So at It's a PCOS Party, at Coach Georgie Daisy for my app. DM me, we're always there. I'm always there. I'm really hot on it. I reply to everyone and give everyone as much time as I can, because I didn't have that time. So it comes from the heart when I was going through it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you can tell how passionate you are. And yeah, I guess I just want to say thank you for helping so many people. And hopefully we've reached out, like, people can take something away, and yeah, somebody gets some help from this, even if they just put the tips into place and they feel a bit better. And if you're one of the ones listening and you do it, even in a couple of months, and you feel better, yeah, drop Georgie a message and let her know that it was a episode that helped you.
Yeah, please do. Any feedback, I can't explain. It lights up my day. So if you've listened to this and you're like, just ping me anything. I normally cry, to be honest. I'm just so emotional. I'm like, God.
Oh, no, honestly, thank you so much. It has just been amazing. I mean, we could have spoken for hours, but hopefully this has given people a good snippet into what you're doing, and they know where to follow you, where to find you, how to reach out now. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Lots of love. See you soon.